Hey, everybody, it's John DePietro, and I want to welcome you to another segment of Salisbury 500, where we talk with interesting people that I've met during the time I've spent affiliated with Assumption College. Now, Assumption doesn't sponsor this. They don't sanction it. In fact, they're probably not even aware of it, but let's make other people aware of it. Do me this huge favor. Right down in the bottom right-hand corner of your screen, you'll see a little red button that says subscribe. Hit that button, and then a little bell will show up. Hit that bell, and that means every time we do a new video, you'll get first chance of viewing it before the general public does. Now, what I want to do for this segment is introduce our special guest. He's very historical, and he's going to be very hysterical from what I can tell. And his name is Paul Hemphill from the class of '68. And Paul, welcome to Salisbury 500.
Thank you, John. This is going to be a fantastic interview, I guarantee it.
I'm sure it will. So, Paul, you graduated in the class of '68. You were back when there were no women on campus, so things have changed quite a bit, but you're a history guy, so give us your 20-second elevator pitch as far as what you've done since graduation, and let me begin by saying thank you for your service to our country.
Thank you, John. I'd do it again, by God, I would. What I've done is that as a philosophy major, I ended up doing marketing work all my life. I've been enjoying doing it, loving it. And out of frustration for the way my kids were learning history in high school, I decided to leave a long-standing profession and do full-time, trying to change the way American history is taught in our schools. Now, how's that short for 20 seconds? Did everybody get that? Are you paying attention?
Exactly. Now, Paul, keep one thing in mind. You're talking about changing the way people learn. Has there ever been a better time in our history where everything is being re-examined to look at a new way of doing something? So it's really kind of amazing that it fell into your lap like this.
Absolutely. And it fell into my lap a long time ago, as a matter of fact, because of the way history is being taught. The way it's being taught has nothing to do with the teacher. It has everything to do with the nature of the subject. In other words, kids don't relate to history because they can't identify with it. They've never lived through a single historical event or participated in one to the point where they could at least get some sort of a emotional or intellectual connection. So there is none. So the way to do that, to make that connection, is to do it with a medium that they relate to more than any other. And it's not a book, it's not a paperback, it's not a PDF file, it's video. So even though I had this...
What we're doing right now.
Yeah. So even though I had I'm sorry, right?
The thing is this, Paul, the name of it is Inspiration for Teens. People can, it's available in both book form as well as several other forms on Amazon.com right now. Is that correct?
Right. You can get the Kindle version. The Kindle version, by the way, last year was a bestseller for almost the entire year in 3 categories. And because of the virus, sales are dead as a doornail. But you can still order the paperback, and I will sign every paperback that is purchased. And I do it all the time, and people love it.
Okay. So, Paul, give us the gist about Inspiration for Teens. You're using the Battle of Gettysburg as the foundation for this book. Why does that make it different than reading from an old history book that's 700 pages and
because it's a great question, because you can open up this book to any page, and within 5 minutes you can close the book and know you got something out of it, because the book is filled with short stories, and from those stories I delineate what lessons you can use from those stories to start your day. I mean, that's how simple it has to be. That's how appealing it is to adults. And I have an Air Force colonel who, for example, told me that the title of your book really sucks, Paul, because I've ordered my junior and senior officers to read your book.
And they're not teenagers.
And they're not teenagers.
So what's the gist of it? I mean, give me an example, or as my friends
down south say, the basic idea is to let teenagers know what they are capable of and what they do their lives with the use of American history. I'll give you an example.
Thank you.
There was a young woman at Gettysburg who was taking care of wounded soldiers a beautiful form of leadership. And these guys that survived under her care did so because unknowingly she was leading these guys across what I call an emotional bridge of hope, John, over which few of us could cross alone. And she did it with what little she had available to her, which was the act of listening and a cup of water. So 2 lessons we learned from that story. The first lesson is even a child can keep hope alive where there is none and save a life. And the second lesson is our human nature allows us to achieve wonderful things with what little we have available to us in a given moment.
Okay. So you also
How
mentioned
was
that.
that? Was that great or what? I
That was
love that
great.
answer.
And you said that 14, 15-year-old kids have a short attention span. So it's not like you're locking them in a room for 50 minutes
Right.
and, making them memorize something, right? Which
Exactly.
I remember history as being memorization of facts. And then as
Yeah.
soon as the exam was taken, you forgot them.
And it's still being taught that way. And if history teachers and principals would learn the fact that this is a new way to teach it. This is the blueprint. And the way to get that blueprint in the classroom is to get my videos, which is, you got to have the video version of whatever it is you're writing, because you're not going to engage the teenager in just the book. The parents love the book, they'll read it, but the kids, won't happen.
Okay. So how can people get the book or the video? Where can they go?
Well, they have to order a minimum of 100 copies, okay?
Yeah, right.
And the way and the way they do it is that they
We're about out of time, folks.
God.
100 copies.
Yeah, I figured as much. The attention span is really short now. Okay.
Yeah. So go ahead.
Amazon got it, and just type in the title, Inspiration for Teens. You can get the Kindle version, of course. I think it's for $3.99, and the paperback is $14.95. The new edition, which I hope is coming out in July, is going to have an increase in price. So you want to get it at $14.95 while the price is low.
You want to grab it while the.
Yeah, I've only got about 80 copies left, John. So
okay.
The sooner they order, the better.
Okay, so great. We'll tell them to do that. And your viewpoint on teaching, is it going to change? Are people going to have to teach their kids at home now? What do you think on that whole education?
That's beyond my scope, John. It's I'm just going by what teenagers really relate to. And I have a teacher in Minneapolis who told me that when she runs my videos in her classroom, the kids will come and she'll stop the video at the point where the story ends, because the lessons continue after that. But where the story ends, she forces her students to take 15 minutes to go into groups of 4, figure out what they think the lessons are that they learned from just watching that particular video. And she said, Ms. Temple, you'd be surprised to learn how a lot of my students oftentimes will come back with the same lessons that you came up with. These kids get it, man, because she's telling them to use their imaginations to figure out what's valuable and important and relevant to them, not using a textbook to learn facts that they're going to forget after the next quiz.
Exactly. So I know that I was in that ballpark.
God, am I tired?
From that end of it. So the whole point is, we want to thank you for being with us on this edition.
You're going to end this? Oh my God!
This edition of Salisbury 500. Again, we're well over our attention span with this. We want to thank you, Paul Hemphill, for being with us.
Thanks,
ladies
John.
and gentlemen, stay tuned to this YouTube channel for several additional segments of Salisbury 500. It's John DePietro saying, "Go Hounds."
Great show, John.